This is the Old Gorilla Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. Welcome to the jungle.
All right, welcome to the Old Gorilla Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. Today, I wasn't planning on doing any talks about politics or anything like that, but have a dun. Got a special guest here with me today. You guys probably saw him or have listened to him on a different podcast that we've had earlier in the iteration of Old Gorilla Jiu-Jitsu.
It was a while back.
It was back in the very, very beginning. I think you were maybe the third or fourth guest.
I was pioneer
At the very beginning.
before you got famous.
Yeah. Well, still got tens of listeners, so we're still doing
it. There's no thousands on it. It's just tens right now.
Tens right now.
Oh, man. Hey, if y'all are watching this, make sure you like, subscribe, share out. Let's build this up for John.
Yeah. I would love
you
to
do a
build
good
it
job.
up. Yeah, I appreciate it.
It's very entertaining. My wife and I, we listen to every episode.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep.
I listen to a lot of your episodes. I can't say every one of them, but I listen to a lot of them. So Biz Life Podcast, of course, Donnie Bedore, Professor Donnie Bedore, second degree Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and third. That's right. You got your third degree just recently. Third degree.
Yep. Recently.
And how many degrees in your karate belt?
Fifth degree.
Fifth degree karate belt, karate, and black belt in karate, and third degree in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So master of a lot of things, owns many businesses, and multiple entrepreneur, podcaster, everything.
Yeah.
You're into everything.
I know. True story.
Which is why we're probably such good friends, because I'm into everything too.
Yeah. Someone's like, man, you must get bored a lot. I'm like, no, I'm too busy to be bored.
Don't get time to be bored.
I was bored once.
Yeah.
And now after that, no longer.
Yeah.
This is a good coffee.
Thank you. Yeah, I whooped it up myself. So.
Good.
Got you a bottle of water here too if you need that.
Appreciate that.
But I know you're pressed for time, so we'll get into it.
Yeah, no worries. It actually freed up, so whatever.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, I'm all good. I'm yours.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to talk about with you today is we're been thrust into the middle of a crazy political environment, especially with what happened this past Saturday with former President Trump that's running for president this year. With the failed assassination attempt, which was completely miraculous. Don't know how he turned his head at that exact moment.
Right.
But he's here with us today because of it. I mean, God's will. I mean, to some degree, it has to be God's will, right?
Man, yeah, it's something. You call it the universe, you call it God, you call it whatever. There's something. Is interesting about this situation.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, looking at the footage, he should be dead. I mean, the way the bullet hit him and how it grazed his ear and where his head positioned, I mean, he should be dead. I think he knows that.
Yeah.
Seeing his reaction at the RNC a couple nights ago when he first came out, his first public appearance, visibly, he looked like very emotional, which is uncharacteristic for him.
Right.
But anyway, I want to talk about politics, and I don't want to. You don't have to reveal your political affiliation. I'm not going to reveal my political affiliation. One of the things I want to get back to. And Jennifer and I talk about this frequently is, politics are for you and your family and your close friends. It's not for everybody, right?
Yeah, sure.
It causes so much tension.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah. What is the saying? I'll talk about anything except politics and religion.
Yeah. Yeah. I've become more free about talking about my religion over the years because I'm very passionate about it. Right.
Oh, sure.
And sharing Jesus is one of the biggest things that, I love to be involved in, whether it's through jiu-jitsu or through this podcast or at church or in the grocery store. So I don't have a problem talking about that so much, right? Sharing my faith.
Absolutely.
But religion and mixing the two, religion and politics, kind of gets very, very contentious, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've talked about politics a lot over our relationship, over the years. But especially with the things that we're going through now, right? We got this election that's starting to heat up a little bit, well, a lot at this point.
Yeah.
The new news, I don't know if you've heard about this today, that a lot of the higher ups in the Democrat side of politics are trying to urge Joe Biden to leave the race.
Step down. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. I mean, so there's a lot of things going on that, affect us as Americans, probably not, and I think it even affects people in the world because, the United States is a superpower, we're highly influential in the world and, but here in our local spheres of influence, I guess you could say, right, in our local community and the people that we talk to, the people we train with, the people we go to church with, people we work with, there's probably a lot of We call it in the military scuttlebutt, which is talk around the water cooler, right? About politics. And so we are venturing into this season where it can get very contentious with people that you've been friendly with for the last several years, right?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden may not be so friendly.
Yeah, I really noticed that in 2020, right? Whenever, all the mandates and mask and this and that, I mean, it really did put a huge dividing line out there.
Yeah.
And it's like it almost forced you to choose a side.
Yep.
And I saw a lot of relationships break off, and a lot of people talking about how they had deleted people and got deleted and, and all that. And it's like, it's continued on since then, really. But that was the first time I really seen something as widespread divide.
Yeah, it's very polarizing over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Probably since 2016, to be honest with you. So it's been a little bit longer than that.
Yeah.
But, particularly with COVID and all that type of stuff happening during the middle of all this, I mean, I think we are more divided now as a nation than we've ever been since I can remember, since I've been a voting adult.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to talk to you about, you've been involved in jiu-jitsu for how many years?
Man, I don't know. I was trying to think the other day. Probably since 2007, I think.
07?
07.
Okay.
However many years that is.
So 15 years?
Yeah.
No, wait. It's more than that. 18, 17?
Something like
17 years. 24, 17 years.
Yeah. Long time. Right.
Mathing is not really good.
And I still look the same. It's crazy.
You do. You look exactly.
It's because of jiu-jitsu and coffee. That fixes everything.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, but, you hear it talked about frequently. You got Joe Rogan, you got Jocko, you got Lex Friedman, all these big, podcasters and influencers out there about how jiu-jitsu and the principles that you learn in jiu-jitsu can be taken into your daily life. And I think one of the ways that it can be applied to your daily life is in politics, especially with this contentious subject that we're into right now with, a new president coming.
Yep.
So a couple things that, we had our day class this morning, and there's a couple things that you talked about that was like, oh, you know what? You can apply those to these situations when we're, say we're out at a gathering with some friends, right? And the subject of politics come up. What are some things that you think that we could keep in mind, to help us keep our reputation? If you're a Christian, your witness, right? And you're cool. In those situations.
Yeah, I like the saying, Master Wall always talks about how courtesy is the most exquisite form of self-defense.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Courtesy is the most exquisite form of self-defense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And really when it comes to, you think of jiu-jitsu, right? You think of self-defense for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about the whole self-defense versus tournament, but different podcast, right?
Yeah.
That'll open up another can of worms. But, as far as martial arts in general, right, it's self-defense, it's not self-offense, self-defense, right? And so, most self-defense situations come from attitude, comes from conflict, comes from, opposing opinions, right? And when you throw politics out there, that's automatically going to put us in that realm of opposing opinions. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so, just having courtesy, I think is such a great thing to, flesh out and to, let that be first and foremost. Yeah. Because really, when it comes down to it, I don't have to win a fight. I just don't want to lose. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And some people may look at that and be like, "Isn't that just the same?" Not winning or winning a fight and not losing. It's like, okay, well, if you had a gun and I had a gun, right? And and I've said this before, if would you rather shoot me or would you rather not get shot? Yeah. Yeah. For me, I'd rather not get shot because if I shoot you, I know there's a chance that on your way down you could shoot me in my life. Yeah. Right. And I just hit your arm. Yeah. Right. And so. Yeah, courtesy, I think, man, it's just such a thing that we really have to keep in the front of our mind whenever we're talking politics or anything where there's dividing opinions of some sort. Yeah. Yeah,
I think that all boils back down to being respectful, right? Oh, yeah. And, listening to the other person, because I think a lot of times we get into this frame of mind where we think that we're all cut from the same path or same cloth. and we don't really understand that person maybe comes from a different background that bends them towards that view for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And, we got to listen. We got to be respectful, and take, like you said today, breathe.
That's right.
Get in a spot where you can breathe, because even though you might be fired up about whatever they're saying, or you may have a competing ideology to what they're saying, just breathe.
Yeah.
You don't have to respond. You don't have to engage, right? Mm-mm. And that's part of self-defense, right?
Yep.
And you're thinking about jiu-jitsu and self-defense. You don't have to engage.
Right.
You can turn around and walk away and say, hey, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later.
I mean, and really when you boil down to, self-defense and jiu-jitsu, right? If you were a true, grassroots self-defense jiu-jitsu practitioner, and I was too, and we were to fight, we would really sit there and look at each other.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't attack you because I'm waiting to defend myself, and you would sit there and look at me, and you would be waiting to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you just stand there looking at each other.
Yeah, we sit there and look at each other in the eyes, and sort of like we're doing now, but whatever. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
True story.
I mean, I think that being patient, with other people, and just kind of letting them talk.
Yeah.
And listening to what they have to say.
And that's one thing I think about whenever I was a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, or even, a white belt in jiu-jitsu, and the things that I've learned, right? A couple of things I learned, and it goes right along with this, right? I can take a lot more than I ever expected. One time I was in class, and this gentleman come walking in, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I kid you not, 320 pounds.
Yeah.
And I was at the time $150. I think I was a blue belt, and he's a purple belt. And so Professor Panish was like, oh, hey, Donnie, come here. I want you to roll with this guy. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And seriously, 350-pound guy. And we haven't had one that big in class in a while.
Yeah.
I was on bottom. He was on top side mount, and his leg was right across my face.
Yeah.
And I could literally just put my fingers close to my mouth just to form a pocket for me to breathe. And I'm thinking, just breathe.
Yeah.
Just breathe. And that's all I could think of, right? Had all this pressure against me, and I could just try to be as calm as I could be, right? And so, how does that relate to the topic? It's like you have someone across from you that has a completely different ideology, beliefs, and they're passionate, right? Because really, as warriors, we're freaking passionate people, right? We are passionate people. And, you may have someone that's passionate, and it doesn't match up with your beliefs, right? And you know what? Are they punching me?
Yeah.
Do they have a knife? They're trying to stab me?
Yep.
Or are they shooting me or trying to do something to my wife? If not, it's okay.
Yeah.
Breathe.
Yeah. Just breathe.
Just breathe. It's okay.
Yeah. And, you can always avoid those confrontations, right?
Yeah.
And one way to avoid it is just to walk away.
Yeah, you can.
Or say, I don't talk politics.
Right. Well, and that's how I used to be, right? It's like, okay, let's just avoid it, right? So whenever I was a kid, I used to work at a John Deere dealership with my dad, and I just become a believer, and gave my life to Christ, went to church, and man, I was on fire. I was thinking, Celine and I were 21 years old, right? And so I went to work, and I told my dad, I was like, hey, look, I'm a Christian now. I'm going to church. And he looked at me. He said, look, I'll talk to you about anything except for politics and religion, so you can leave that Jesus stuff outside the doors. That was my dad.
Wow. Huh.
Right.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, I'm like, oh, crap. If there's something that someone is against, I'm just going to avoid it.
Yeah.
Because that was such a hurtful thing for me as a young man.
Yeah.
And for the listeners listening, my dad, probably about 3 or 4 years later, gave his life to Christ. Oh, 54 years old, got baptized, and just on fire for the Lord.
Well, that's amazing.
It was a miracle. But
it's like, don't talk about religion, and then he believes.
Yeah,
a couple years later.
And what's funny is I heard him. He had to preach one Sunday, probably last year. Yeah. And mom texted and said, "Hey, Dad's preaching. Watch online." So I watched online, and he told that story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he told that story, really cool. And so no pain now, but from that moment though, I was like, I'm just going to avoid.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just going to avoid topics and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's definitely one way to approach it.
Yeah.
Right. I think I've, because of jujitsu and the way I can stay calm and collective in a match with someone that's about to try to break my arm or choke me out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or even whenever I was cage fighting, someone's trying to, slam my head against their knee and things like that. Because of that type of training, now it's like, man, I can have a conversation about someone that's an atheist. They hate Jesus. They hate whatever. And I'm like, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how you come to that thought.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's really my approach now is like, how does that occur to you?
You're trying to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because here's what I know is, for 90% of the conversations we have, we're not going to talk anybody into what we believe.
Exactly.
We're not.
You're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not, you're not going to, if you're a Republican, you're not going to talk someone that's a Democrat to come over to your side for this.
No.
So it's like, but that doesn't mean we can't talk.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so that's why I try to approach the situation, is try to find out how that occurs to them and why they believe what they believe.
Yeah. And I think that all goes back to something that I've talked about a lot is knowing your audience, right? Knowing the person that you're having a conversation with and having that relationship with them, knowing that you can have, so for instance, like civil discourse, right? You can have a friendly argument or a friendly discussion about something that you may be at odds about.
Yeah.
And it's not going to get contentious, right?
Right.
Some people, they get involved in these political discussions, and from the moment you say go, they're ready to fight.
Yeah.
Right. And they're ready to get ugly about it. So I'm not saying you can't talk politics with everybody.
Oh, no, I agree too.
Yeah. And the same thing with religion. You can't not talk religion with everyone.
Yeah.
Just know who you're talking to and know that relationship that you have. That's all part of being respectful, right? All part of knowing who you're talking to, knowing the relationship that you have with that person. It's probably not the best idea to come right out of the gate, wearing your Trump hat, mean tweets 2024 or whatever, and walking up just to random people and start bashing Joe Biden or whoever, it's probably not the best idea.
Not really productive.
Not productive. But there's a lot of people out there that want to do that. But
sure.
And if that's the way you operate, then more power to you. It's just not the way that I prefer to operate. But I think it all goes back to being respectful to one another. And I think that's something that a lot of people have lost with the polarization of the politics in this country over the last several years. And we should be able to have those conversations. We should be able to sit down with our friends and, have a drink and talk politics, or sit around and eat some barbecue and talk politics or religion or whatever it may be. Yeah. But you need to know who your audience is in that situation, and not go with the intention of trying to convert them over to what you're thinking or what you believe.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. 100%. Well, a couple of things that I wrote down, and this has, been my life verse for the last 10 years. It's something that I think about constantly, is out of John. It says, "A new commandment I give you, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also are to love one another. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." Right? And as believers, and something I like to, bring up on the podcast as frequently as possible, is my faith in Christ. I'm a Christ follower. I'm a believer of Jesus. I'm of his death, burial, and resurrection. And my end goal is not to convert you over to whatever my political affiliation is. Right? My end goal is to help you, if you don't know Jesus, know him, introduce you to him. And for you to be closer to him and have a relationship with him, because I think that has more of an impact on your life and what you're going to do moving forward, and having that. And I think a lot of people who have a deep faith are going to vote in the way that their faith directs them to vote. Right?
Yeah. People act and do according to what they believe. Yeah. And not saying that what they believe may be right or wrong, but that's people act according to what occurs to them, and for sure, I agree 100%.
Yeah, you want your faith and your beliefs to influence the culture, and not the culture to influence your faith and beliefs. Right. I think that a lot of times people get that mixed up. You know, they let culture and society affect what they believe, you know, and the faith that they have in things that they may believe.
Yep. There's definitely a lot of cultural Christians around.
Yeah.
And, you know, one thing I was thinking about the other day, and this popped in my head, and I voiced it to one person. I'll voice it to you as well, too. The left, right? If you want to talk about the far left and far right, right? Well, first of all, before I go into that, I said earlier, you know, that 2020 really opened my eyes to a dividing that's happening or happened, right? But I think when it comes down to it, if we were to communicate with each other without any kind of, you know, preconceived ideas or I want to change your belief, right? Just pure, raw communication with love and respect, right? I think we would all find out that we're not as divided as we are led to believe, and that we believe, right? I really experienced that whenever I went to Canada and did the canoe trip, right?
Oh, yeah.
And guys from New Zealand, met a lot of people from Canada, people from France. I mean, all over the world, and just come to find out that we believe a lot of the same things, right? And not necessarily believe as far as our faith or nothing, but just the way that we want life to go is very similar. Yeah. Right. And I think for the most part, it is very similar. But then what I was going to get into was, you know, when you're talking about the far left and the far right, the far left, really, they want the kingdom without the king. The far right, they want the king without the kingdom.
Wow. Say that again.
Yeah. So the far,
really good.
Yeah, the far left, they want the kingdom without the king. And you look at that and you're like, all right, how does that flesh out? It's like, well, the people on the left, right? It's like, you know, they're really strong about, you know, opening the borders, letting people come in, taking care of the kingdom, people, and just the worst of the worst, right? And giving homeless this and that, right? Yeah. But then the right, they want the king without the kingdom. Yeah. Yeah. You know, so I don't think it's really good, in my opinion, to be far left or far right. Yeah. And just say, no, this is it. Yeah. I'm like, well, no, if you were to listen and talk to these people on the other side of the fence, you would find out that what they want is a lot of what you want. Yeah. Now, they may want to go about it a different way. Yeah. Right? In the same way as so I have it on mute, but because he is
he's one of your favorites.
He's one of my favorites. He gets to come through. So Professor Landon Bedore, we'll call you back in a minute.
We got a black belt, calling a black belt here.
Yeah. Well, and what happens is he'll call me first, and then if I don't answer, he'll call Mom. So I'm sure she'll get the next call. So
no worries.
Anyway, so yeah, you know, and the right, they want the king without the kingdom. You know, they want to be like, no, you know, forget all y'all. We want this. And anyway, so it's just, I don't know. I have found myself, and really in the last couple of years, turning a lot of stuff off, and then just seeing what's revealed to me, and man, I find myself slinging right here in the middle. Yeah, yeah, really. Yeah, when it comes down to it, because I can listen to both sides and be like, you know what, I agree. Yeah. Listen to this. You know what, I agree. Oh yeah. Right. And whenever, you know, I would sway one way or the other hard, then I found myself being angry. Yeah. Right. And being like, sort of looking at people in a certain light and being like, they're the enemy. Yeah. Right. And it's not the case. It really shouldn't be the case that way.
No, it shouldn't be the case that way. Yeah, so anyway. And I was in the same boat that you were talking about just then. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I told you, you were one of the people that I told about this. Like, I'm getting off of social media. I'm able to erase my Facebook and my Instagram. I got off of Twitter. At that time, it was Twitter, wasn't X. You know, I was on Telegram. I had all these things that I was getting, all these news sources, all this independent media, even television news, right? So cable news and all this stuff. I was enthralled, and I was really heavily, deeply involved in all that stuff, to the point where, like you said, I was looking at people through a different lens, because I was so involved, you know, emotionally in all this stuff. And I remember Jennifer and I had a conversation about it. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Right. I find myself to be, you know, I wouldn't say angry, but definitely fired up on a regular basis about different things that were going on in the news and the media, about politics, mostly politics. Right. And it's like, I'm getting rid of all this junk. Yeah. And I got rid of it, and I've been off of it for, more than 2 years.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this weekend, I've watched more news this weekend than I have in 3 years.
100%.
You know, Selena was like, oh my gosh, you've been glued to the TV,
yeah.
which I watched maybe 4 hours the whole weekend.
Yeah.
But that's glued for where I've been in the last 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So,
same here. And, you know, I eventually got back on social media for the podcast and, you know, Old Gorilla stuff and watching jiu-jitsu stuff. And I hadn't really been paying attention to any of the politics stuff.
Me neither.
But Saturday, holy moly, man! Since Saturday, that's been a really big focus of mine. And I wasn't going to do a podcast, like I said early on. I wasn't going to do a podcast on this politics stuff. But if it's strong enough to bring me back into the fold and you back into the fold to start looking at this stuff, I think a lot of people, particularly our friends and family and our inner circle, the people we train with, the people in our lives are probably feeling the same thing. Oh, yeah. And I thought maybe you and I have something we can say to kind of maybe keep everybody simmered down a little bit so we don't get caught into this. So we're better than that. We don't have to get pulled into this. We don't have to choose to get in these arguments and get in and ruin relationships and friendships and, you know, think differently about people because of what they may be experiencing or thinking or voicing about this situation. Yeah. So
I agree.
Yeah.
100%. And I'm glad you did. And I definitely do think that training jiu-jitsu, right. And, you know, getting into those pressured situations, right. Cause really, again, conflict, right. Arguments, they can be avoided. Right. But whenever you get on the mat and you're training and then the instructor's like, okay, time to do rounds at the end of class. Yeah. It's like, okay, now we're going to shake hands, bump knuckles and say, hey, let's have conflict. Yeah. Right. We're having combat. We're having mutual combat, mutual conflict, right? We're forcing ourselves to be in that situation on a weekly, a lot of times daily basis. Yeah. And so, whenever you hear something or you see in a fight or whatever, it's like my blood pressure doesn't rise. Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like I can control the adrenaline that's coming, right? And really that adrenaline is something that you really don't know unless you've been in that situation. Yeah. Remember my first cage fight, went in, fought, did 3 rounds. It was a crazy fight. During the time it's like, sort of outer body experience. I don't even know what I'm doing, right? Yeah. Get out, walk 10 steps. There's a trash can. I'm throwing up. Yeah. Just that adrenaline dump. And audience, everybody around, they just saw me fight and I'm sitting there throwing up, right? Yeah. And same way when I did a Europa tournament years ago, did a match, went over, threw up, right? And so the more I did that, it's like, then I would fight or do a tournament and it's like staying completely calm. Yeah. And now, you're sitting across with someone that's want to talk politics or this, and it's like, sure, you can have your opinions. I don't care. Yeah. Have your opinions. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about, I sent you a video, like a GIF or something like that from Instagram. And it's a
gift?
A GIF.
I was about to say, I didn't get the gift.
GIF.
Is it GIF?
GIF, whatever.
All right. Hey, if you're watching, is it GIF or gift or GIF?
Or whatever.
Whatever. Let us know.
So there's this guy, and he's holding this little Chihuahua dog, and he's petting it, and he's like, and this little dog is like eating his fingers up as he's talking. He's like, he's so calm and and all this stuff, and this little Chihuahua is eating his fingers up, and they said, like, this is like a white belt spazzing out against like a purple belt, right?
True story, though.
And,
oh my gosh, that's a true story. How many times have you rolled with a white belt, and man, they just freak out. It's like, freaking out. Dude, I'm going to have to hold you down just so you don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And that's staying calm, right?
Yeah.
So you get somebody that is really contentious. They're fired up about whatever political junk is going on for the day, right? Because it's all a news cycle that lasts about 24 hours.
Yeah, and it's going to get worse. Yeah. This is just the tip of the iceberg. From here to November, it's going to get a lot worse.
Well, it may be into January. I mean, last time it lasted to January. True. People are still going to jail. But you think about, if you do jiu-jitsu and let's say you're a higher, you're a blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt, whatever, above a white belt. Yep. When you roll with a brand new white belt that's been training for a couple months, right? I got a couple in mind, you guys. I'm thinking about you. And the first time you slap and bump and you go, that person is like that angry Chihuahua, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you go in with the same mentality of this white belt and you're a higher rank, somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to get hurt. So that's the same way with these political discussions.
Yeah.
If somebody can, let cool heads prevail.
Yeah.
You're probably going to salvage whatever relationship you have.
Mm-hmm.
But if you come in trying to equal their power and equal their intensity, somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be both of you.
Yep.
You know?
How many times have we seen that? You get two blue belts together and it's like, instructor said, let's roll light.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You look over there and they're just pounding on each other. It's like, what happened to rolling light? It's a warm-up round. But they match, and it just intensifies, right? But you get a blue belt with a black belt.
Yep.
And, I get comments all the time. They're like, dude, you're so freaking calm when you roll.
Yeah.
How? And I'm like, well, number one, I've been rolling a long time.
Yeah.
Right. And then number two, I'm going to let you make a mistake. I don't have to force you into anything.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're going to make a mistake, and if I'm calm, I'll see it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing. Stay calm. Choose your words wisely. Right. And that's that tongue is a dangerous thing. Right. The
Preach
tongue
it.
is so
Preach
dangerous.
it.
I mean, and if you're a Christian and you've been to church for any period of time,
Yeah.
You've probably heard sermons about watching your tongue.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And I wrote this down actually today out of James. So it says, and this is out of James chapter 3, verse 5 through 9. Yep. So also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great things. How great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire. And the tongue is a fire, a world of unrighteousness. The tongue is set among our members, staining the whole body, setting on fire the entire course of life, and set on fire by hell. For every kind of beast and bird, of reptile and sea creature can be tamed and has been tamed by mankind, but no human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil full of deadly poison. With it, we bless our Lord and Father, and with it, we curse people who are made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come blessing and cursing. My brothers, these things ought not be so. Right? Straight
man.
from James.
Yeah.
Right? And think about that when you're having these, because these discussions are going to happen.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to, where we are right now for the next 5.5 months or whatever it is, 6 months, there's going to be people that are going to want to argue with you.
Sure.
So just, hold your tongue, remain calm, take a deep breath, breathe.
Right.
Breathe. That's the biggest thing. And be respectful.
Yeah.
And I think pray through it. I mean, if it's really bad and it's a family member, right? And I think family members are probably where you're going to see a lot of this go down, especially Thanksgiving coming up,
Right. Yeah. Oh man. True story.
It's it's not worth ruining your relationships over.
No.
It's just not.
And really it's like, speaking and things like that, right? The one, if you look back, for those that, believe the Bible to be true, you look back in Genesis, right? How did God create everything? He created it with words, right? And
Absolutely.
then, God gives us two ways that we get to create, right? One, obviously, is procreate. And then, thank you, Mom and Dad.
You're going to make it weird.
The second, is with our words.
Yeah.
Right. Not that we can speak things into existence. I'm definitely not our faith is a force. Force is in our words, and our words are the power, right? But we do have the ability to be able to build up and tear down relationships and people with our words, right? And it's like, you've heard the old adage of, toothpaste, you can't get toothpaste back into the in the tube, right? Yeah. And same with words and everything. But I love what James said about that, is that people are in the image of God, right? Even that one person that either has purple hair or a red MAGA hat, right? Whatever side you're on, those people are made in the image of God, and that's what God. Right. That's God's crowning jewel. Is that person.
Yes.
Right. And for us to tear them down is like it's tearing down his child.
That's right.
His creation, I should say. And we just need to watch what we say.
Got to watch what we say.
Yeah. And just think, on the Biz Life podcast, our guest was talking about, God gave you one mouth and 2 ears. You need to listen twice as much as you talk.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I heard, I saw that podcast just recently. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's good. That's good.
Yep. No, it's a good word.
Good word, man.
Yeah.
Well, that about wraps it up for me. You got any parting words of wisdom or advice before we close this out?
Man, if you don't train jiu-jitsu, you should, right?
Absolutely.
I am such an advocate about it because it's changed my life.
Absolutely.
I mean, it really, really has. God used it to change my life.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe one day I could come back on and share our story.
Yeah.
How it did change. But, man, train jiu-jitsu and just love on people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Love on people. And if you're a believer, remember, you got 2 commands to follow: love God and love others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go back and listen, I think it's episode 4, when you came onto the podcast, you talked about how it changed your life. So you may want to go back and listen to that.
Oh, okay. I will. Maybe I already said it. So that's what happens when you get hit in the head too many times. I wasn't sure if I did or not, but whatever. Yeah. Go look back and watch episode 4. You'll really enjoy that.
I think it's episode 4, but anyway, yeah. So, hey, man, you're involved in so much. You got Gray's Craze here in Fort Worth and in Plano as well. So if you guys are looking for charcuterie boards, which is the hottest thing going right now sports are coming back in. You got the Olympics coming back up next week, right? Or is it this weekend? Coming up soon.
Man, it's coming up soon. We're such an advocate for the Olympics to watch the gymnastics and the track and field.
You were a gymnast, right?
I was a gymnast in high school, yeah. So we just love it. And Celine ran track and volleyball, so we watched the volleyball and all that. So, yeah, we love the Olympics. It's so cool.
Yeah. So if you need some snacks to watch the Olympics, go Gray's Craze, Fort Worth, Plano.
Yep.
Check that out. Get you some charcuterie snacks. So you got sweet boards, you got savory boards, you got a mix of both.
Yep.
You got it all, right?
Sure do, yeah.
If you need something to listen to in between events, they got the Biz Life podcast. It's about the biz life, not the busy life, right?
Yes, yeah. I got called out on that. They're like, wait a minute. If you're a business owner, you have a busy life. I'm like, no, I like productive.
Productive.
I think busy is a bad word, so I don't say busy. I say productive.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're a business owner or whatever, then that's what it's dedicated for.
Yeah. And if you need any branded apparel, promotional products, fully promoted, any swag, any hats, any shirts, any of that stuff.
Yep. Can.
Absolutely. So, well, that's it for today.
Man.
I think we covered everything we needed to cover.
Yeah.
And, gosh, we're only 40 minutes into it, so it worked out pretty good.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, man.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Love you.
Love you too.
All right, man. Old Gorilla out.
All right.
All right.